Hi, welcome. I'm Lau. When I very first started training in all of this, I was 8 years old. Most of what I was taught early on was by my master, who was my primary teacher, and I was raised in a monastery with him until I was about 18 years old. I studied under different teachers that he sent me to so that I might have a more well-rounded view of things, but he was primarily responsible for what you're going to learn in this very special segment. But I actually traveled the world, and I lived in the world for a good amount of time. I had done some work in the military, and I had done other things, but now that I've come back to doing this full-time and that I am a full-time abbot and priest, I run the school, I teach at it, and I do these things full-time. Many people say to me, you know, when you're a full-time priest, these things are easy, but in our life, this isn't so easy. And the answer is, yeah, I know, but I wasn't always a full-time priest. I spent about 22 years not being a full-time priest, but instead being a wandering Taoist who learned from every single situation and did the best I could. And most of my training was not done sitting, day in and day out in a temple, but in times where I had time off. It was a matter of what was my priorities. It was a matter of what was my focus. My spirituality has always been at the heart of everything I've done. And sometimes I didn't get to go to those parties that other people went to. Some of my buddies that I used to know would go out and hammer down at beers and go chase the ladies, but I was training or I was practicing, because where we put our focus, what we focus on, is eventually what we will get, what we will see, what we will manifest. What we constantly hold in our minds is what will eventually become our environment. And so that which you hold in your mind, people who are constantly negative, they're constantly going to see negativity in their life. And they go, see, it's negative. I told you I have a reason to be negative. And the answer is no, it was negative because you've literally wired your environment and your brain to see those things. But somebody who consistently holds something else in their mind, well, that's what their life is going to be like. And so what we're going to do is, in this very special content, we're going to create an inner world in which we can focus our attention in order to make our inner world the way that we want, which will then have the effect on the outer world. We call this Neigong. Ne means inner or inside. Gong means work or discipline. The work of our inner work is the work that we need, because all the things that we see and think and we feel have very little to do with the outside world and have everything to do with how we determine what we see. When the light comes into the eyes, the rods and the cones, and it comes back here to the visual cortex, that's how we get information in from the outside, but that's not the part of our brain that sees. There's another part of our brain that actually looks at the visual cortex and interprets and decides what it is that we saw, because there's many things that you see that your mind just wipes, like it's not there. So you do not see what's outside of you. You see what your mind allows you to see, and the reason why it allows you to see is whatever you're looking for, that's what you're going to get. So when we change that internal world, when we change that internal landscape, well then we can start to make real magnificent changes. In the West, they would call this thaumatology or miracle work. You say, I was doing all this and it just started manifesting in my life. Well, the law of attraction, or law of manifestation, has nothing to do with praying to some J.C. Penney catalog and it appearing in the mail. It's about putting it in our inner world, and our inner world then starts to manifest our outer world. So we're going to work on it. Now, let's do a few things. For those of you who are not anatomy and physiology gurus, don't worry, you don't need to be, but let's do some language first. First, this is called the third eye, or the yin tong, right? Tip of your nose, for those of you who don't know. Your chin. This is where your heart is. It's here. It looks like the other side for you because it's a camera, it's a mirror image, right? Our lungs are here. It goes from the tops all the way down to the bottom of our ribs. The ribs cover the lungs. That's where the lungs are. On the right side of the body, which looks like my left side to the camera, this is the liver. This is the spleen. And then our kidneys are in the back. In Chinese medicine, the heart is the palace of our spirit, of our immortal self, yeah. Our lungs are the prime minister. They house what's called our po. Po is your corporeal self, your physical self. The one that I get to talk to and look at and you're looking at right now, this is my pole. Okay? The liver has something called our hun. Our hun is our etheric soul, our highest self. The one that we look and we go, God, that could be me. That's hun. It's responsible for intuition. Okay? Our spleen houses our yi. That's our logos, our logic. It also is our consciousness as you understand consciousness like this. Sometimes you may get impressions or you get awarenesses or you get feelings and you say, wow. Well, there's a consciousness outside of your awareness that's yours, and that goes into hun. But the one that you're aware of on day to day, when you're driving, when you're writing your check, whatever you're doing, that is your yi. It's your intention, but what do you intend to do? And then there's the kidneys, which is called your zhi, Z-H-I. Zhi is your divine will. This is the will to do any of these things. Some people between the ages of 13 and maybe 18 have some sort of mystical experience and they go, oh man, you know, I just know that I'm called to something, and they try churches and they try religions, they try all these things and it doesn't work. And the reason why is you can't find your own will there. You're looking for the will of some discorporate anthropomorphic God. But Buddha, Jesus, all of these avatars all said that God is within. The kingdom of heaven was within. And so you have to go within. You have to do your Neigong in order to find out the will of God. But that God is just the higher form of you. Not the higher form of you as in your identity, right? I'm Lao. Not Lao's highest form. It's the me that is me from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. That is the Shen. And you want to make your will in harmony with the will of the Shen. And that comes through hun, the intuition. So when the Shen sends intuition to the Yi, that's how it all sort of works. But the Neigong is how you navigate all of these parts of our bodies in order to sort of put it all together and start to learn the language of your own soul, of your own spirit. And so what we're going to work on today is how to do that. So here's what we'll do. We're going to start. You're going to get relaxed. You don't have to be bolt upright. You don't have to be in the lotus. We're not yogis here, so please, don't think that your shushumas and your nadis, that's great. But right now, this is more of an internal work. So comfort is more important than anything else at the beginning. Okay? If it's not comfortable, you won't do it. If it won't do it, it won't work. I'd rather you be comfortable and do it and adjust on the fly than do it perfectly right every time, the first time, because then you're not going to want to do it because it's not fun. It's chore. It's another thing to do. And nobody needs anything more to do. We know we got plenty to do. So this is something that I want you to schedule. You can do it when you first wake up. You can go right before bed, although right before bed you might fall asleep. But it's something you do when you have that moment of quiet. And so you start breathing naturally. And the hands are here, and I want you to start focusing here. Don't concentrate, because you're going to give yourself a headache. Just lightly put your awareness right here between the third eye. It doesn't matter if you see any visions. It doesn't matter if you see colors. I get this all the time. Oh, I see all these crazy colors. Great, but that's not the point. Ignore them. That is not the point. Okay? Once your focus is there, I want you to breathe in deep. And feel the energy, lead the energy with your attention. The attention leads the mind leads the energy to the tip of the nose. And breathe in again. And it should come down the sides until it gets to your chin, to the jaw. Here. Then take a deep breath in. Put the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And swallow the energy until it comes here to the heart. Now I want you to see the outside of the heart as this really beautiful glowing ember. As you see this ember, simply breathe to it like you're breathing on a coal, and it gets brighter. If there's any defects, if there's any char, if there's anything on it that looks like it needs to be clean, simply blow it off, simply dust it off. Simply make it so it's this beautiful, warm, life-giving ember, because the heart represents the element of fire. Once that's clean, take a deep breath and hold it for a second. Now go inside of the heart and go now to an inner landscape. In this inner landscape, I want you to see a forest everywhere. And in this forest, the trees have all these beautiful leaves, and all the leaves are red. And there's leaves on the ground, the forest floor, and they're all red. And as far as the eye can see, there's this beautiful red forest. Maybe in the background there's a volcano with lava raining down. It's far enough away, you're perfectly safe. But I want you to simply note your surroundings and get very, very comfortable visualizing and understanding your surroundings. Now the avatar of your heart is a phoenix, because the phoenix represents the Shen, right? So you become incarnated into a physical form, like the bird, and then it becomes ashes, it becomes dead, it becomes that ether, like your spirit. And then eventually it comes back into a human form or a bird. And so the nature of incarnation and death that the phoenix shares, it shares with us in our spirit. So that's where the avatar comes from. So I want you to look around in this forest and see if you see the phoenix. If you don't, that's perfectly okay. If you do, where is it? Is it flying? Is it perched somewhere? Is it near you? Is it farther to you? Wherever it is, simply acknowledge it. Simply give it your ability to nod, give thanks to it. If it has any overt or plain messages, simply listen to what it says and remember. I want you to look down at your form. What are you wearing? What kind of clothes are you wearing? What fashion, what cut, what era, what style? Don't change it. Do not do anything more than simply remember and observe all of it. Now I want you to walk deeper into the forest until you come to a clearing. And in this clearing, I want you to see a structure. I don't care what kind of structure it is. I don't care if it's a temple or a castle or a house or a cabin, a shack. It doesn't matter. I want you to simply notice what type of structure it is. I want you to look around outside. I want you to look around and go inside. Anything that's broken, out of place, doesn't seem like it needs to be there, I want you to change that. And I want you to make note of how it was and how you change it to. It's best to have a journal next to you so afterwards you can write all of your insights. And we'll talk about that at the end. And really get to understand the nature of this place. Why is it there? If it's a temple, what kind of temple? What do you do there? Do you pray? Do you just give offerings? Is it a castle? Was it an old, dilapidated, abandoned castle? Is it a one that somebody lives in now? What is the nature of the structure in your heart? Simply come to understand it and take as much observation and mental notes, and you will remember it. Now you spend as much time in the heart as you'd like, but once you're done in the heart, then the next place we go is to the lungs. Now the lungs surround the heart. So you take a deep breath in, hold it for just a moment, and I want you to see the lungs as two white, shiny metal discs. If there's any smudges or anything, mars or markings, I want you to clean it until it is perfect and pristine. And once it is, you can exhale. And once it's completely pristine, take a deep breath in and then go into the lungs. And in the lungs, I want you to see a mountain range, a snow-capped mountain range with mountains and ridges as far as the eye can see. And I want you to see that, and I want you to notice if there's any, soot or is anything in the lungs. I just want you to pay attention to it. Now, the avatar of the lungs is a tiger. The Po is a tiger. So I want you to see if you see any tigers. If you do, you can approach them or not approach them. It doesn't matter. But you're just becoming aware. You're just observing right now. And you're becoming aware of what's in this place. And I want you to see on the mountain, I want you to see a structure, just like in the heart. It doesn't matter what kind of structure it is. It doesn't matter. And I want you to see what you're wearing. What kind of clothes, what color, cut, fashion, hairstyle. All of those things, just make a note and write them down because they're very, very important. And as you begin to feel these things, and as you begin to go through these things, go inside the structure just like in the heart. If there's anything broken, if there's anything out of place, I want you to make notes of all that and then go put it exactly the way you would like it. And just like the heart, spend as much time here as you would like. And then from there, we'll take a deep breath. And we'll hold it for just a second. And then we're going to come to the right side, under the rib cage. There is your liver. And as we're going to see the liver, as we exhale, we're going to see the liver as a piece of organic wood. It's green and beautiful and flexible and so full of life. Any type of chips, any type of markings or scars, just fix it, just clean it. With the thought or intent, you can put it back to the way it is. Just work on that for a moment. And now take a deep breath in. And as we exhale, we go into the liver. And as we go into the liver, we see a beautiful bamboo forest. And in this bamboo forest, we're going to see tall, 9-foot bamboo for as far and wide as the eye can see. And as far out as that bamboo goes, we're just going to pay attention for the moment. Now the avatar of the liver is the dragon, it's the Hun. And so we're going to see, we look up in the sky, or we look anywhere, and if we see the dragon, we simply want to understand and note how far, how close, how big, how small, what are its features. We're just noting it. Do not judge. There's no reason to judge this. And just like before, find a clearing in the forest, and you want to find a structure there. Look what kind of clothes you're wearing, color, cut, fashion, style, and look what kind of building it is. What's it for? Anything out of place, anything not right, make it the way you want it. But remember how it was and how you made it. And we'll make notes of that later. And spend time communing in this place. Now take a deep breath in from the liver after you've spent enough time there. And we're going to go to the kidneys, which are at the base of the spine below the ribs. We're going to go to the kidneys, and you're going to see the kidneys on the outside as two beautiful dark blue topaz. You want to see them as glittering gems with light coming from within. I want you to clean them and polish them, and I want you to make them gleam so the light shines throughout your whole inner body. Just clean them. And once they're completely cleaned and polished, take a deep breath in. And let's go into the kidneys. And in the kidneys, you're going to see a beautiful subterranean cavern, like inside of a cave, like inside of a mountain. And in this cave, you're going to see a hole in the roof, a beautiful circle with silver moonlight coming through, illuminating your cave. And in the whole cave, there's a lake. And this lake is dark water. This represents your kidney essence. This represents your jing. And you want to see this lake, and if it's low, you want to make it rise. Not completely full, because in the center of this lake, there's a little island. But you want to make it full so that the lake seems really filled. And you want to make it so that this island, and now in the kidneys, the avatar here is either the tortoise or the snake. You want to see if you see the snake or the tortoise. If you do, make notes of them. What kind of tortoise? What kind of snake? Do you recognize them? Simply allow yourself to see them, to acknowledge them, to pay them respects, to give honor and gratitude to them. Notice what color clothes you're wearing, style, color, and fashion, just like before. And then notice the structure on this little island. What is it for? What does it do? And like before, after noting everything as it is, make it the way you'd like it to be. Just breathe. Any information that you gain from any of the avatars, the phoenix, the tigers, the dragon, the tortoise, the snake, whatever information, make sure you write these intuitions down, because these are messages from the deeper parts of yourself to you and your conscious mind. This is a place to commune with the symbolic language of the sub and super consciousness minds. And so it's very important to come to understand and learn your own language. And make sure you write them all down. Anything that needs to be cleaned, anything that needs to be put, so that you can make your inner world the way you want it. There should never be lack in your inner world. At the beginning, there may seem like lack, but you can put whatever you want with just setting your intention, and there it'll appear. Anything broken, with just a thought, it repairs. Hold that thought, and it will always consistently be there when you go in this, when you go in your organs. And after you spend enough time there, we're going to go to the spleen. So we take a deep breath. And as we go into the spleen, on the outside of the spleen, we want to see a beautiful, wonderful handful, pot of fertile soil. And you should smell the manure and the compost. You should smell, because that fertility of that soil is what gives so much life and nutrients to the rest of our body and soul. So do whatever you can, weed it, mulch it, whatever needs to happen, so that that soil is ready to be planted in. Because a fertile spleen is a fertile mind, capable of receiving and gestating and creating and forming all the things that come from our Hun, our intuition, and from our Shen, which is our immortal self. Now take a deep breath and go into that handful of dirt. And now I want you to see a beautiful, beautiful field of nothing but the amber waves of grain. Wheat fields for as far as the eye can see. Wheat has always been a symbol of bread, of life, of food, of sustenance for our ancestors and for our species. And I want you to see these beautiful, beautiful, as far as you can see, just fields of wheat blowing in the wind. And I want you to see in the center of that field another structure of whatever fashion you want. And look at what you're wearing. Look at what your the color cut fashion of what your clothing is. The avatar of this is the eagle, the golden eagle. The Mongols use the golden eagle, which is about 4.5 feet tall, as messengers, as scouts, as lookouts. So if look to the sky, look to the structure, look to trees, anywhere to see if you can see this. And if you do, see if there's a message. If there is, remember it and write it down later. Anything that needs to be fixed, put into process, like everything else, you put it into proper working order and just breathe. And once you're done with all that, now you'll take a deep breath in, and you'll bring your awareness to your navel, just under your belly button, under your umbilicus. And you just put your hands there for a moment, and you just let it all settle in. And when you're ready, come back to the here and now. Now that we've been through these, we've gone through this Neigong, it's very important that you take your journal and you begin to write heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, spleen, and write out everything you remember. Try not to analyze it, judge it, edit it, or even if you can't, don't read it again. What you want to do is let these Neigongs begin to build up. There are things that may be really pertinent to you right now. You can contemplate and think on those. But the overall message, you don't want to interfere, because this is your highest self giving these messages to you. Therefore, it sees the bigger picture. So every time you do a Neigong, it gives you snapshots, but it's like puzzle pieces. You've got to put them all together after a period of time. And then you'll be able to basically see a bigger picture. You'll get to understand trends and cycles in your own life. Okay? Well, we're going to stop this now because it's been kind of long. You can read this and listen to this over and over again if necessary. If you have any questions, you can email me at lau@fourdragonschool.com. I'll be happy to do the best I can. But until then, it was an honor to work with you. And the more you know about yourself, the more you can be yourself. Okay? Until the next time.